Yeah, hi everybody, Steve Griffiths here, developer of the MTPredictor software program. Today I'd like to have a look at the ES on a 3-minute chart. This is the USE Mini ES on a 3-minute chart, particularly following up from the advanced analysis I was looking at in yesterday's training webinar. Yesterday was Wednesday the 12th of October. So let's start this by having a look at the larger degree chart, which is actually the 15-minute chart. And I just want to show you what I said in advance. This is the important part, in advance in the training webinar. What I did was, here's the 15-minute ES chart. What I did was went back to a prior high, and here was a prior important high, and I put the DP resistance zone on from this high. To do this is really easy. Advanced chart analysis. Click on DP, choose swing high or low, click on the pivot, and the DP is placed on the chart for you. And in fact, you can see it, whoops, if I scroll to the right to the end of the chart, you can see it, here it is on the chart for you. Now remember, that was on the chart, this is about when I was doing the webinar yesterday, it was on the chart there as the market went into that level. Now what I said, and this is the important part, was when we are using the larger degree chart, we can use that for larger degree support and resistance. So what I said was, because the ES was in our larger degree 15-minute DP zone, ideally we should be looking for a potential high coming in. And as such, when we go down to the shorter 3-minute charts, ideally we should be looking for sell setups. So this is how large degree trend or multiple time frame analysis works, is we look at the larger degree trend on the 15-minute chart, use our DPs and WPTs to get larger degree support and resistance zones, and in this case here was our resistance zone, and then we go to the shorter term charts for trade setups. And as you can see, even though the market did actually trade a little bit higher, it was still within this larger degree resistance zone. So let's come down to the 3-minute chart and see what unfolded yesterday. Well, yesterday was a quiet day on the ES. The only trade setup we would have had would have been this trade setup here, which was actually a buy setup and blue STF. However, it would have been just clipped out from -1R loss. Just literally, if I look at the low of that bar there, the low of that bar there is 1209 and the stop trigger is 1209, so it just got clipped out from -1R loss. However, what I actually said, and this is the whole idea of this training video, is because we were at 15-minute resistance, ideally we should be looking for short trade setup. So this long trade setup, even though it's with the STF color, was not great to consider for the advanced traders among you. So we look at the chart and there weren't any automatic sell setups. However, if I zoom in a bit and look at the high volume VSA spike, this is an advanced trade setup we look at. You can see if I scroll to the end, sorry, that way, there on that bar there we had a high volume VSA spike. This is our red indicator on our volume plot at the bottom of the chart. Now what we do on this is we look to see whether this spike or this high volume bar has exceeded a prior high, which indeed it has. So therefore normal technical analysis would suggest that a move to new highs above a prior pivot on high volume would be buying. However, we know that's not the case. Well, I should say it's not the case always. What we do is we put the DP target on, which you can see I did just from the prior pivot, and you can see that this high volume bar actually has gone into our DP resistance area. We now move forward one bar, and here you can see that this bar here actually failed to keep on going to new highs. Now this is the beauty of volume, is that if this high volume here was buying, the market would have carried on moving higher. However, because this high volume here on this bar reversed the very next bar in and around our DP level, we now know it's selling. It's selling by the professional traders. When this happens, when we get a high volume VSA spike that breaks to new highs, then reverses with the correct coloured reversal bar, MTP reversal bar, in and around our DP level, we can now set up a trade in the opposite direction, confident that we're with the professional traders. Our target would be the DP of the prior pivot, so I put that on there. We can now set up the risk reward for the trade. And again, all this is known in advance. So here we are, just as this trade's coming in, so I missed a bit on that risk reward. As this trade is coming in, we know that this is potentially an area to enter a short trade. We know that this is our initial target down here, or for a potential profit of plus 2.6R, in other words 2.6 times our initial risk. Our position sizing keeps our risk small and under control. So let's see what happened. We go forward, and the market did indeed decline nicely and now reached our target. What we do now is we go down to our STF and we look at what's called the strength band. These are these grey lines here. So here you can see that the STF had exceeded the lower strength band, therefore we assume that the market's weak and most likely to go lower in the near future. Therefore we swap to our ATR stop, which is our red dots, to then hold us in a short trade. Now as you can see, the market carries on going into the close of the day there. The ATR stop, our red dots here, would have held us short all the way down into the close of the day. So if we now redo our analysis here, looking at the close of the day, you can see that we had a short trade. If I zoom out, you see this would have actually initiated a short trade at what was the very high of the day. The very bar of the high of the day was our entry bar. We then had a trade right the way down here as the market collapsed into the close, into what was the low of the day, which was pretty much the close, for a plus 7.4R profit. So that was an absolutely brilliant trade. But the point being is that this trade was set up in advance by knowing that the 15-minute chart was at 15 minutes, was at DP resistance, and the beauty of this was I actually mentioned this literally hours and hours and hours before this trade set up in a live training webinar. Then our VSA trade setup, which we have here, is a trade setup that all our advanced traders know, and it's exactly the same as we do again and again. So again, this setup here should be no surprise to our advanced traders. And as you can see, the result was an absolutely fantastic trade where we were short from the high of the day with a small controlled risk into the close of the day, which was actually the low, for a lovely plus 7.4R profit, or turning an initial risk of just over $330 into a profit of approximately $2,400, and all set up and prepared for in advance by the use of the 15-minute chart in the combined with our high volume VSA setup on the 3-minute chart. A great example of how to use the tools in the MTPredictor software program.